now. We the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. Going into Week 13 NFL season, it's crunch time. Road to the playoffs is on full steam, and we have a lot of interesting matchups that pertain to that because tied races in both divisions, especially in the NFC. Really looking forward to seeing that develop, and we have a lot of teams still in contention that we're going to talk about. But first and foremost, Smokey, how are you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing all right. Because you didn't gain any points on me last week. We
That's
tied.
Bad.
Yes, it is. Oh, it was kind of bad overall. We only got 8 correct total, but we disagreed on quite a few and split them right down the middle. What did we disagree on? The Bucks and Colts. I almost got that one. That was a good game.
Almost.
Rams and Packers. Yeah, it was about the same. I almost got it. You picked the Vikings over the 49ers.
I did.
And you actually
That's
picked
close.
the Falcons over the Jags, which that worked out for you and for me at the same time. I picked the Dolphins and you picked the Panthers, and I picked Washington. You picked the Seahawks.
Man, I really picked Seattle, huh? What was I thinking? How could I
That's
ever?
the second time in a row you did that, saying that,
Yeah, I know.
oh, this is
I
it for
know.
the Seahawks. They're definitely going to do it now.
I mean, they're horrible. Why would I pick them?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're really
I
bad.
I can never explain my picks the week after. It's a common theme.
It's crazy. The Seahawks are worse than the Falcons right now. That's crazy.
It's insane to think about. We're going to get to them later as well as the Falcons, because they're in sort of in contention too for a playoff spot. But we're starting off with Thursday night, and this is should be a better one than it is, but it's still a pretty good one. The Cowboys at the Saints.
Yeah, both of these teams are not doing as well as they should, as a matter of fact. Saints are still having quarterback issues, of course. They're looking at Taysom Hill to come in at this point and try to save the season. I don't think there is any salvaging it at this point. The Cowboys, they're not playing as well as they should. I mean, they're not, that last week, they're not playing like a playoff team. They dropped it. They scored. I mean, this is a great defense, or at least everybody was telling me it's a great defense. They gave up 36 points to the Raiders, the beat-up Raiders. They don't even have a coach. I refuse to believe that that's a great defense. I'm going to give this to the Cowboys, though. I still think overall it's a better team, and hopefully some of the receivers will get back on the field, and maybe Zeke will be out there. If not, Tony Pollard's great. Saints are a little more beat up than the Cowboys, so Cowboys on the road.
Yeah, speaking of not having a coach, I guess Mike McCarthy won't be on the sideline either for this game, so we'll see how it turns out, how important that is. The tendency over the course of the season has been not so important. Like typically teams with who either were missing coaches, lost coaches, generally tended to do perfectly fine, so that's probably not a big factor. The Cowboys need to get back to doing what they do best, which is run the ball and supplement the pass game by running the ball and playing defense. So they do have a lot of talent, a lot of young talent on that defense, and this is a good game to get it right for them because they have had the score ran up on them a couple times, as you've mentioned, most famously 36 to the Raiders, which is indefensible. That was one of the worst games that could have possibly happened on Thanksgiving, no less, at Dallas. For me, of course, is wonderful because I like seeing the Cowboys lose, obviously, but for them, that's not an acceptable state. So they have to bounce back from that, and I think they'll be able to do it against the Saints. Again, quarterback troubles. Saints, though, very important game for them as they are also kind of in that spot sharing the, I think the 7th seed right now with like 3 or 4 other teams. So it'll be important for them, but I don't think they can overcome Dallas when they get back to playing the way they do, which is hand the ball to Ezekiel Elliott 25 times and get the run game going. So I will also take the Cowboys, and we agree on that one right away. We got the Giants and the Dolphins.
I'll tell you this right now. The Dolphins look like world beaters. They really do. They look really good. They're a 5-7 team that is playing more like an 8-4 team. Maybe 9-3 is what that team looks like they should be right now. Jalen Waddle is absolutely the best of the 4 big Alabama receivers to come out. One of them's already eliminated himself from the conversation. So out of the other three, Jalen Waddle is absolutely the best. I said that when he played at Alabama. Tua is looking good. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Tua is looking like the guy he was drafted to be. I don't know why Mike Flores wanted to replace him at any point in time. The Giants, on the other hand, not looking great. They did pull out a win, which I told you that was possible, but it was a very ugly game against the Eagles. I'm going to take the Dolphins on the road to continue their momentum.
Dolphins are looking really good. I think
they're at
I
home,
recall.
by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I recall saying this a couple times before the season. The Dolphins are better than their record with State, and they're primed for sort of making kind of a burst onto the scene. And finally, that has happened. Yeah, I agree with you with the offensive prowess there. Of course, I'm a big Tua fan. I think you like Tua as well. Mm-hmm. And Jalen Waddle's been doing well. He's been having a lot of breakout games these past few weeks. He's been doing well. I think, assumed by the other three Alabama receivers, you're talking Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith, and Henry Ruggs.
Yes.
So Devontae Smith is doing pretty well for himself with Philadelphia, considering that he has to work with like the poor man's Tua Tagovailoa in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
And that has some history to it as well. Uh-huh. And probably a worse team, honestly, all around. The Eagles, they're not bad, but I think the Dolphins probably have more talent on their roster right now. So yes, both of them seem very promising receivers. Generally, very strong receiver draft class this year. If we're looking back at it right now, if you add Jamar Chase to the mix as well. Yeah, I agree with your idea entirely. Dolphins should win the game and keep rolling. And who knows if they will kind of knock on the door, or if it's already too late for them. They're going to have to play a pretty tough schedule, and they are in a division with the Buffalo Bills and also with the best team in the division, which is the Patriots, which we're going to get to later. I know you don't like to hear that, but that's more than likely the case at this point. We have the Colts and the Texans.
Yeah, the Colts actually had a good chance at winning. You know how the Colts needed to win that game? By running the ball. That's all they needed to do. You saw when they stopped running the ball, it wasn't as successful. I don't know why they decided taking the ball out of Jonathan's hands was going to work, but it didn't. There are some capable receivers on there, and Carson Wentz is a capable quarterback, but this was one of the best defenses in the NFL. And they should have won that game. They really should have. If they would have just let Jonathan run the ball the entire time, they could have won that game. However, this is the Texans. Divisional matchup, yeah, the Colts should easily take this on the road.
I do agree. Texans look pretty darn bad. They might be the worst team in the league. I know Detroit hasn't won yet, but I think the Texans are honestly worse. And I kind of would like to see them play each other at this point, just for the morbid curiosity of it. Yes, the Colts should absolutely win. They should have won last week, like you mentioned, or it was very close. They were absolutely in it. And they are one of those teams, like the Dolphins also are, who are better than their record. Started off slow, started developing their identity, and now their offense is very strong. They have to deliver, no doubt they will, at the Texans, and put themselves in a position to make a playoff push as well. Because the Colts are one of those teams where we could be talking about in January, like we did the Titans the past 2 years, where it seems like they came out of nowhere, were kind of treading around average for a long time, and then they found their rhythm and they became a serious threat. So high hopes for the Colts there, and they should win this game, no doubt. And Jonathan Taylor looked very good, no doubt. He's we'll get into the MVP discussion later, but his name is still, I guess, is still thrown around on the occasion. Got the Vikings at the Lions.
Yeah, speaking of the Lions, this is another case where this is just a better team, albeit how average the Vikings are. The Vikings are completely average. They proved it against the 49ers once again. And if they're not going to be with Dalvin Cook, then that's also going to be another step down for them. They do still have some very good receivers on the field and a completely average middle-of-the-pack quarterback. But it's the Lions. I don't care that it's in Detroit. The Vikings should have no problem winning this game.
Okay, one thing I will take offense to here, and it's weird that I'm the one defending Kirk Cousins of all people, but saying he's like a complete average middle of the pack. You know how many starting quarterbacks there are in the NFL? At 32 at any given time. there is not a metric this season that Kirk Cousins is not clearly a top 10 quarterback by. In fact, most metrics he's a top 5 quarterback. You're looking at passer rating, you're looking at his touchdown to interception ratio. The only guy who's better at those metrics at the moment is Aaron Rodgers, other than Kirk Cousins. I know he's not putting up the wins necessarily. That's a big issue.
He's a 500 guy. He always has been.
Yeah. But what if I told you that, for example, you look at Justin Herbert? Is Justin Herbert just average middle of the pack quarterback because his team isn't really winning at the moment, as you would expect?
7-4.
Yeah, not that good, right? Or Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
So Kirk Cousins has been good this. It's probably the best year of his career, to be perfectly honest. He's doing it without Stephon Diggs too. So not too much hate on Kirk Cousins. Dalvin Cook's going to be out for the Vikings, though, it seems like. So that's a big hit. Not against this team, of course. Detroit is horrible. No reason to pick them ever. And the Vikings bounce back and beat them handily. Eagles at Jets.
Wow, this might be kind of a tank bowl. I guess the Eagles are still believing they have playoff hopes somewhere in there, but we saw it when Jalen Hurts, almost said Jalen Waddle again. When Jalen Hurts is not capable of running on an opponent, they have no offense. He can't. I mean, Jesus Christ, how many balls were dropped in that game? He's not a passing quarterback. People try to convince me of that. I see it all the time. That, this guy's going to work out. This is like Lamar all over again. No, it's not Lamar. He is not a passing quarterback. I don't think he ever will be. Like you said, he's the poor man's Tua, and that's exactly what he is. He can just run a little better. That's all. Jets are pretty bad. I mean, at least they're coming off a win to the Texans. But, man, that actually makes it tough because this is actually in New York. I must stick with the Eagles. I think the Eagles can still get a win over the Jets.
So yeah, I do agree with you on Jalen Hurts. Though there is no denying that he's an incredible running threat. But here's a pattern that I generally notice, and I think people don't take into account as much because of the nature of how flashy their play style is. Whenever someone like this comes onto the scene, he's instantly the next superstar. But a running quarterback really needs at least 2 seasons to be properly evaluated, and the reason for that has been, if you look at historical examples as well, they come onto the scene, they run all over everyone, no one can stop them. Defenses get their time, they get an entire offseason to scheme for them, to watch all the film, to figure out how they work. The quarterback running game will be limited. They will adjust specifically to them, and that quarterback is going to be forced to finally become a passer. And at that point, that's the season, or that's the point in time where we decide, is this going to be a Lamar Jackson, or is it going to be a Colin Kaepernick or RG3? Because all those 3 guys in their first season, like their first appearance, looked like world beaters. But Lamar Jackson turned out to be, he's also a legitimate passer.
Yes.
And the other guys were not, and they fell to average and then fell to horrible when they could never improve as a passer in their mental game. And that's what we're going to see with Jalen Hurts as well. Now, I'm not saying he's going to definitely fail or he's going to definitely succeed. We don't know yet, but what I have seen from him as a passer in college as well, he's never been a convincing passer. And at this point, I don't think he is that. He will have to do significant improvements. He's facing long odds, in my opinion. I know people like to look past that at the moment, but the truth on Jalen Hurts is going to be revealed in 2022, maybe 2023 as well. And we'll see if he's actually a long-term future for this team. But I'm not as optimistic as a lot of people like to be. On the topic of the game, though, this is one where I'm going to have to make a stand and pick the Jets. Listen, man, the Jets have been kind of trending up under the radar. I know it's weird to say that for a team that's still in contention for the first overall pick or seemingly in the top 5, but compared to how they started the season versus how they are now playing, they've gotten a lot better. And the results might not reflect it proportionally, but they've been playing a lot better than they did at the start of the season. I think they're kind of getting in their groove a little bit. Zach Wilson might be back, fully healthy and starting will be a welcome addition to that offense. I'm going to pick the Jets here. I want to say they get it done. Mainly also because I need some picks against you to be able to make up some points. So this is what I'm going with for sure. Trusting Robert Saleh to shut down a running quarterback like Jalen Hurts. He's been dealing with Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson twice a year for seasons prior, so he should have some experience in that regard. Speaking of Kyler Murray, you got the Cardinals at the Bears.
I will tell you, though, the 49ers have seemed to struggle while he was there with running quarterbacks. But, yeah, Cardinals and Bears, that game was horrible. Like, nobody wanted to watch that game against the Lions, and they proved it right there on the field. And I don't believe in Matt Nagy. I don't believe in the Bears. I do believe in Justin Fields. I think he will be a decent quarterback once he is out from under Matt Nagy. But right here, I don't think they have a chance in this. I mean, the Cardinals should be rested up. The Cardinals should be in top form. They have been one of the most dominant teams in the NFL this season. So they should easily go to Chicago and take this game. I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem.
I think it's just going to be closer than you may be expecting it to, and the broad public may expect it to. This seems like sort of a 17-13 game, because Arizona is coming off a bad stretch, right? Quarterback out for a while. They had Colt McCoy, and he was good, then he was bad, then he was good again. Don't really know what you're going to get coming off a bye week as well. And the Bears tend to be looking pretty good now with Justin Fields getting more comfortable. Of course, he had that minor back step where he had to where Andy Dalton had to step in again, and we don't know exactly how his health is looking. But yeah, he's going to be really good. I think he has a lot of potential, not just to be decent, but to be really good. He's going to be reliant on the correct environment, and we've seen that can make or break a quarterback's entire career, especially someone in his situation with a lot of potential, but some rawness to him as well. In terms of this game, Arizona wins, but it's going to be a close one. I'm not expecting a blowout here. Chargers at Bengals.
Yeah, when I look at this game right here, I basically see two teams that are on an even playing field. You think about it, both of them have presumably phenomenal second-year quarterbacks right now. They both should be really good, but they both had really bad games on top of their great games this season. So you really don't know what you're going to get out of either one. Both of these teams are kind of on the same trajectory. Both of them seem to be in the same place in their division with the other dominant teams over them in the respective divisions. So I think these teams are exactly even, to tell you the truth. I'm going to give the 3 points to the Bengals at home.
Okay, I will give you this. The sports books agree with you because the Bengals are 3-point favorites in this game.
Perfect.
And I can definitely see why. There is a lot of parallels, a lot of similarities. You got very inspiring young head coaches trying to establish their game plan, and potentially very dangerous roster set up for future dominance. And the quarterbacks as well. I like Joe Burrow. Probably not quite as much as Justin Herbert if I had to pick. Burrow is he's like 26 years old already in his second year. He's had a major injury, and he's probably physically just a bit more limited in terms of his both his running ability and also just his arm strength compared to Justin Herbert. But that's not to take away from him at all. That's like kind of facetious now. It's like comparing Joe Montana to Dan Marino in that sense. And it's just very high price, of course, so I'm not making those comparisons directly. But Joe Burrow can for sure be a very, very good quarterback, and I do like him a lot. But as I've already alluded to, Justin Herbert, I'm going to go with the Chargers because that's the guy I trust more. That's the guy I know can excel more, especially in tough situations, and he's going to have to take his team over the top. And Austin Eckler, by the way, has been looking pretty good as well. He's been turning into a serious offensive weapon, and I'm sure the fantasy world has taken notice of that the past weeks. So I'm going to pick the Chargers to beat the Bengals. That's another disagreement for us. I'm hoping one that I'm not going to regret next week. And this one's a good one. I want to hear your opinion on this. The Bucs at the Falcons.
Well, speaking of teams that are on an even playing field right now, I mean, look at it. The Falcons have a phenomenal receiving core that consists of absolutely nobody, except for a first-year tight end that gets triple-teamed in coverage, and the only guy who can actually catch is a used-up blast from the past in Cordero Patterson, and he happens to be a running back. So, therefore, the passing game is near non-existent, except for passing to the running back a few times in a game. The Bucs, they're dominant. I mean, what else can I say? I don't like Tom Brady, and it hurts to actually praise him. But there's no way the Falcons are going to win this. You would think you could give the 3 points to the Falcons for being at home, but as a matter of fact, the Falcons lose 3 points for being at home. They don't win at home. It doesn't happen. I give it to the Bucs here, easily.
Well, pretty dark outlook on the Falcons. I'll say this, like, you're a game away, like half a game away from being in the playoffs right now.
It's not going to happen.
So, I mean, you're competing with the Saints and the Panthers, right? It's division rivalries. Anything can happen. And the Vikings as well, who you have described as being aggressively average too. So, never know. Would be a milestone game if you could beat the Bucs in this one for sure. I'm not going to tempt the odds. I will take the Bucs as well, like you've kind of mentioned. I mean, you look at the Bucs and they have just the sickest constellation of receivers you could ever imagine. You get Mike Evans, you get Gronk, you get Chris Godwin as well, which is just obscene. And then you think you got him for like one game, and Leonard Fournette runs for 4 touchdowns on you. It's an all-star team. This is a Pro Bowl roster. It has been since last year, and I think they're going to win. They do have some weaknesses, which we may see exposed in the playoffs, and we have to a degree seen being exposed earlier this year. Oh, I forgot to mention Antonio Brown. Yeah, Antonio Brown's also on that roster. Speaking of the
think of how many superstars are on this team that other teams gave up on.
You could make an average NFL starting offense from second and third stringers on the Bucs.
Yes, absolutely.
You get Ronald Jones, you get O.J. Howard, you get Chris Godwin.
Yeah. This is ridiculous.
It's nuts. Actually, it's like a Madden, like in Madden, whenever you turn off salary cap and just trade for every player in the league.
Exactly.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay wins, but I will be happy to root for your underdog Falcons in this one again.
Thank you.
Definitely want that division to be a close one too, with the Panthers and Saints. So hoping for that, but I'm going to pick the Bucs. We have the Jaguars at the Rams.
Yeah, the Rams weren't in tip-top shape like I was kind of hoping they would be coming off of their bye. It seems like every time Matt Stafford has this season where we're like, look, he's finally going to live up to it, some injury pops up. Matt Stafford gets injured a lot. And this one, he's complaining about back soreness and a few other things. And I don't know. I really don't know where the Rams are headed at this point. At the first of the season, I thought they were for sure playoff team. No doubt about it. And Matt Stafford made them that. But who knows? But I'll tell you this right here against the Jags are not going anywhere this season. They haven't put it together. I don't believe in Urban Meyer. We want to talk about Matt Nagy. I don't believe in Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer is going to be like maybe 2 seasons and back to college. But the Rams should take this one easily at home.
So, thinking with Matt Stafford is he doesn't get seriously injured for the most part. He gets these like small nicks and bruises that can definitely bother him. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, that's not an excuse. If he can play through him, he has to perform through him. You can't say, I'm healthy, I can play, and then not be able to perform 100%. If you're not healthy, sit out. So that is not going to be an excuse that's going to fly for him. Now, the Rams definitely still are a playoff team, and there's a lot of things that would have to happen for them to miss the playoffs. So one, they'd have to be caught in their division by the Niners, which is possible. Kind of it's the trend line says it's very possible, but it's still, the records are what they are, and it's not necessarily probable. And then also they would have to be overtaken by at least the Falcons, Vikings, like 2 of either the Falcons, Vikings, Panthers, or Saints. Or Eagles, I guess, and not Bears, whatever. Not seeing that necessarily happening, because then we're talking about a record around 500, and a lot has to go wrong for the Rams to run into that sort of situation, because 500 teams right now are making the playoffs in the NFC. So I will take the Rams this one as well. Bounce back game, of course, rooting for Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, if you're trying to have a welcome to the NFL kind of breakout game, feel free to do it. I mean, I don't like the Rams, and I have to give a big shout out, by the way, to a guy I know I'm beating on a lot in these shows, Davante Adams. He smoked Jalen Ramsey. I mean, he put him in his place, which is fantastic to see, because Jalen Ramsey is a guy I don't like. Mm-hmm. And this Rams defense is one of those one of those magnets. It feels like kind of like the Raiders and Seattle and the Cowboys for just players that you just don't like. They're just like dirty players and loudmouths. Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald are some of those examples. And that was so. I definitely appreciated him getting picked apart a little bit, back to back by Deebo Samuel and then Devontae Adams as well. Maybe, I don't know if there's anyone of that caliber on Jacksonville, but
no.
We'll see. Probably the Rams. The Rams are going to win at home. Would be a catastrophe if they don't. And if that happens, we'll talk about them again next week, but I'm going to say they got it.
I will say this, though. Chenault is probably going to be with Ramsey in this game, so if he smokes him, there's something wrong with Ramsey at this point because he's not performing like he should have.
That's true. I mean, I don't rate Devontae Adams so highly as most other people do, but he's probably a bit better than Laviska Shenault. I will give him that.
Yeah,
I will give him that.
Definitely.
We have the Washington Footballs at the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, both of these teams coming off of, well, I would say big wins. The Washington win was nothing spectacular. 17-15 over the struggling, failing Seahawks. I know you love to see that, though. Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough game. The Raiders are nothing special either. They did put up 36 on the Cowboys, as I mentioned earlier, which I don't know where that came from. Maybe it's just to ensure that they end up 8-8. They didn't want to, or I guess 8-1. They didn't want to end up 7-8-2 or something. I don't know. But this is tough. I really don't know who to pick. You know what? I'm going to say that the Raiders are just going to fail because they're the Raiders. And I'm going to pick Washington to pull it off here.
That's an entirely fair pick. So as for the game, I'll get that out of the way. This is my kind of coin flip game. Pick what you don't. The Raiders are favored by 2.5 points at home. So it's a very, very even split there. It's pretty much pick 'em. I'm going to take the Raiders because you took the footballs. So just to put that out of the way. And as for, because I will take the time to rip on Seattle because you brought it up for me, so why not? Jamal Adams, by the way, the pick they traded for him is now up to the 5th overall pick in the NFL draft if the season ended today. One of the picks they traded up from the one in this upcoming draft. And he's turning into one of the most spectacular trade busts of all time. I'm talking, Herschel Walker.
I think he was great in his first season down there, though, or out there in Seattle.
But they traded for him. They gave up more for him than people were asking for Deshaun Watson.
It was a lot.
They traded like as an elite quarterback kind of value for him because they thought that was the missing piece after Earl Thomas went. And speaking of defenders that are somehow that I don't like and that are just bad characters being kind of magnetically attracted to certain teams, right? Earl Thomas, you got Jamal Adams, many others, Frank Clark to a certain degree early on as well. Seattle's not looking good at all. I've heard a lot of Seattle fans really getting on Russell Wilson now, which that is the one thing where I'll say that's probably not justified because he's been so good for so long. Saying that they should move off of Russell after this season, I think is a bit hyperbolic. At least give him another one.
But I will say leave.
If he wants to leave, then sure, and he should. He's surrounded by a bad team, in which I would appreciate it even more because then the Seahawks would be even worse and go back to irrelevance, which they emerged from in like 2011 and were unknown to the world for 40 years before then. They should go back there because that's where they belong. And speaking of going back to where you belong, I also want to kind of see Pete Carroll go back to the old folks home, aka USC, and serve as a defensive coordinator under Lincoln Riley, just to complete
they just fucked up Lincoln.
Just to complete the wonderful world of NFL karma and just dismantle this entire franchise. It sounds like I'm already talking about this game, but they're still coming up. But one in between, we have the Ravens at the Steelers.
I'd say if he does leave, he probably ends up at Notre Dame, to tell you the truth.
You think they'll give him a head coaching spot?
Yeah, I think
probably, right? He's NFL accolade. Yeah.
Yep. Ravens and Steelers. The Ravens did what they got to do. Lamar is not looking at 100%. That was obvious. He did go out there and play. He toughed through it. And actually was the reason they won. I know he looked bad and actually were the reason they weren't scoring in the beginning of the game. But when it came down to it, he made that run, just as he does, to ensure that the Ravens win the game. Steelers, on the other hand, It's not looking good for them, and I'm kind of afraid of the Steelers bumping the Browns out of last place in that division so that my prediction doesn't come true. It's going to be the Browns and the Steelers fighting over last place. That's how that division ends. And since it's going to end like that, the Ravens are going to easily win this game on the road.
Yeah, so that one thing we definitely can agree on, both that the Ravens are winning this game and that the Steelers are the biggest hope of preventing the Browns from coming in fourth in that division. The Bengals and the Ravens are not competing for that bottom spot. They're firmly looking at playoffs. Man, Pittsburgh got it handed to them. I don't remember the Steelers losing that bad. I don't think I've ever seen the Steelers lose that bad. Just trying to recall. We've seen a lot of blowouts.
Rudolph, maybe.
But it's not even on Mason Rudolph. They score decent points. I mean, they got piled up on their defense.
I'm saying when Mason Rudolph was playing before this season.
Oh yeah,
in the last couple of seasons, they have lost games like that. One to the Browns in the playoffs.
They had that pretty bad loss to Cleveland at the end of the regular season, which no one remembers. No one remembers the game.
Yeah,
it's all about the helmet punch.
Yeah, and Mason actually played better in that game before the game where Ben came back and blew it to the Browns.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily the quarterback position that has me most worried, though the Steelers should look into replacing that probably in the offseason. Look at their linebacker core. I mean, they're some of the worst play I've ever seen, frankly. Look at the running game that the Bengals were up and down on them, and the Steelers just horrible angles. They were just not making tackles. Very uncharacteristic of this team's philosophy and of Mike Tomlin's philosophy. I don't recall the Steelers losing this badly under the Mike Tomlin era ever since I've been watching this sport. This was probably the lowest point I've ever seen them, which is incredible to say. So this is not something you bounce back from in 1 week, especially not against a dynamic rushing attack featuring Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. So Baltimore wins. And we have the Niners at the Seahawks.
Yeah, this should be. We've talked about how bad the Seahawks are, and the Niners are on that trajectory, moving upward. They're looking good. I know you keep picking against them for some reason, but I'm going to keep picking them because they keep winning. I don't think you can go against me on this one. The Seahawks are horrible right now, and the Niners actually look decent. Debo is probably not playing in this one, so this should leave room for Ayuk, but also I think it's going to be more of George Kittle getting involved in this one because Debo was only used as a running back in this past game for some weird reason, but hey, he was effective. He's going to be out here, which is probably going to hurt them, but not against the Seahawks because the Seahawks are horrible right now. Take the Niners on the road.
So Debo being out definitely bothers me quite a bit, and that was sort of the thing I was thinking. And also Fred Warner, by the way. Fred Warner also going to be out.
Yeah.
The heart of that defense. So, a couple of worries going into this game, but looking at all bad Seattle is no, I cannot disagree with you. Absolutely not. And I know divisional game, a lot of things can happen, and Seattle actually won the first game earlier this year, but from since then, these teams have been on polar opposite trajectories. And I do agree with you. I'll take the Niners to win as well. And by the way, one guy we should just I particularly want to mention, because what stood out to me so much in this Vikings game, and I felt forcefully reminded of several years ago when I first started watching and I'm watching the Niners, and I was seeing a guy, Frank Gore, turning a 2-yard run into a 4-yard run on every single play. Look at the game film and tell me you don't see a little bit of him and Elijah Mitchell. I mean, there had been to at least 7 or 8 plays where he was getting tackled around the line of scrimmage or 1-yard gain, and he was kind of falling forward, and it was a 2nd and 5 all of a sudden. He's a slippery guy, but he also has the power, the lower body strength to work himself through a tackle. So some kind of reminds me of Frank Gore. Maybe it's just that I'm drawing the parallels because of the same team and they're awesome players or whatever. But just stylistically, he definitely has some comparisons.
Elijah actually, he had a monster game, but I don't know. It's weird thinking that he could be on that level because he doesn't have the draft capital behind him like that. And what did he say? He started the season as
6th,
like 4th,
6th round pick.
Yeah, exactly. He started.
He was on the roster bubble.
Yeah, exactly. And that's weird. But as we've seen, Shanahan's always been able to pull guys out of obscurity and make them elite running back somehow. So
yeah. I think he was projected to be number 5 coming into the season, and now he's a starter. And yes, I think if I remember correctly, also he is the first 49ers running back to have more than 5 or more 100-yard rushing games in his rookie season, I think, ever. Don't quote me on that, but something along those lines. So looking pretty good. Can't complain. I do like the fact that it seems like just, especially with the running backs, it feels like every once in a while that just you get this diamond in the rough coming out of like a 6th or 7th round pick or even undrafted, and suddenly they show up and are phenomenal, which is nice to see, of course, when it happens for your own team.
Yeah.
But I just reminded myself of something I didn't mention earlier. I wanted to mention it when you were talking about him, but Cordero Patterson, when you brought him up for the Falcons, you said he was washed up.
He was,
or something along those lines.
Before this season. Yes, he was.
Yeah, he is in the best shape of his life.
And
he's
it's
never
crazy
played
to think.
like this.
Like, yeah, I agree. I agree.
He was a kick returner. He was a pure return specialist.
Yeah.
Now he's a running back and the best receiving threat inside of Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. And he's in fantasy football, he's probably right up there in the top 5 running backs all season.
He might be like in top 5 for all-purpose yards.
Yes.
Across the entire NFL. I mean, he's doing really, really good. So that's an offensive weapon right there. That's similar to Deebo Samuel, actually, as you brought it up.
Yeah.
Just being used everywhere. It's dangerous with the ball in his hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll take the Niners to win this game as well. Late, we have the Broncos at the Chiefs.
Yeah, this is kind of tough. I mean, you expect the Chiefs to come back out, be explosive, and be dominant, but you never know. This season is weird, and this season has caught up to everyone, and especially the Chiefs. But the Chiefs are still projected to win that division, and they should take this divisional game right here and be dominant if they are still that team. I really don't know what we're going to get out of this, and we've seen that the Broncos can pull off a win at any given moment. But I'm going to go with the favorites. I'm sure they're favored by at least 6 points or so. So I'm going to stick with the Chiefs at home.
Yeah, 10 points even.
Oh, wow.
3 point home game, I guess, edition. And they're favored by a touchdown. So yes, I do agree with that. Chiefs should win the game. Denver, I mean, they looked good at the start. Weren't they like a 3-0 team or something? And then nothing came of it. Mm-hmm. They were good at running the ball and then just stopped doing it, and then Teddy Bridgewater steadily declined, and now we have no idea if it's him or Drew Lock. And then the second thought is it doesn't matter at all because they're like the same player basically. Mm-hmm. This team is kind of sitting in limbo there, so I'm not too confident in them for this season, and they should thoroughly lose to the Chiefs. However, if they can kind of dig themselves back out of a hole and make a stand here and upset the Chiefs, that would be a big story, and maybe infuse some new life into this team that seems kind of washed up for this season. But as far as now is concerned, I will definitely take Kansas City. And then we have Monday night. We have the showdown everyone was waiting for. Obviously, the Patriots at the Bills.
Yes. Now this is a Monday night game. This should be an island game. None of this Lions and Bears. Like, why? Why do we do this to ourselves? Washington and the Seahawks. Why? This is a Monday night game right here. This is a divisional matchup that the entire world is going to be watching. And you know, it's the newly resurgent Patriots. Then they found their way back. They look like the Patriots of old against the Bills, who actually were one of the most dominant teams in the league last year, and still kind of one of the most dominant teams in the league this year, except they've had their struggles just like every other team in the league has had. All the dominant teams have had their struggles this year. So I'm going to assume that the Bills are still the dominant Bills, much like I would say with the Chiefs, and give them the 3 points at home, because I think these two teams are actually very, very close at the moment. I'm going to say that Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs pulls this out here.
They are very, very close, and this is a tough one to pick, and I can tell you this is pretty much a pick 'em. The Bills are 2.5 point favorites at home, so that means it's basically nothing between them. And I'm going to pick the Patriots, by the way, because momentum doesn't lie. They're on a 7-game winning streak now, coming from 1-4 to 8-4, which is just insane and completely unheard of. And I know no one wants to hear this. No, not a single person outside of the Patriots fan base likes to see this, but they're the same Patriots. It seems like they're still there and they're not going to go down as it's looking. And Mac Jones, I mean, every single week I can't help but just feel validated in what I've been saying about him for about a year now, leading up to the 2021 draft. And him being an Alabama. I think it's been over a year that we've been discussing Mac Jones, at least between us. When we're talking about the college season last year, how you were talking about how he's not that good and he's so overrated. He should go. He's like a 5th round talent or something, and his receiving talent is going to get him drafted high. Yeah. And he had good receiving talent, but yeah, Mac Jones. MVP conversation, straight up.
I did say, though, to my credit, when he was drafted, I said there is no better landing spot for him than where he went.
That might be true. Yes, that is. I do agree with that as well, because he fits that Brady role so perfectly. So, no one likes to hear it, but it's the same old Patriots we've seen for decades, and I'm going to pick them because the same old Patriots have beaten the Bills for decades. Now, Bills are not the same old Bills by any means. They're really, really good now. Yeah. But I'm gonna go Belichick because there's no reason not to. Why bet against him if you have the option to bet on him, because that generally is a smart idea. So gotta do that. But it's gonna be a great one.
I'll say this: I think if Kyle Trask would have landed in that spot instead of Mac Jones, it would be the same outcome.
Are you joking?
No.
Are you kidding?
It would be
Kyle
the
Trask?
same outcome. Yes.
No, it would not.
Yes, it would.
It would not. No, Mac Jones is so much further ahead. Like, Mac Jones came out as a developed professional quarterback. And people hated on him because he wasn't the most athletic, because he looked more like a quarterback in the 2000 draft than the 2021 draft, because he wasn't a runner, and he was not a spectacular playmaker, not a Heisman-winning superstar who was the best athlete on the field. But he's a professional, he's a pro-style quarterback. He came ready-made out the box. And that's invaluable. People don't like to recognize it. There's no comparison between him and Kyle Trask. Not even close.
There's a big comparison. Look at their college numbers.
But who cares about the numbers? I mean, yeah, look at their college. Look at Reggie Bush's college numbers. Is he better than Barry Sanders?
Their play style is so similar. It really is. Like, look at it,
well,
man.
You can play in a similar style and get similar numbers in college, but not do it equally well.
What comparison did you just make, Reggie Bush and Barry Sanders?
Yeah, Barry Sanders. Like, Reggie Bush is the best college running back of all time. Was he better in the pros than Barry Sanders?
No, but there was also a longevity thing. Yeah. Although Reggie Bush had some good seasons up front with the Saints.
Well,
but
I can make all the same. Barry Sanders didn't play for very long, and they're very similar stylistically. And Reggie Bush was better in college. Doesn't have to translate it. By the way, he was on better NFL teams than Barry Sanders was. And for quarterbacks, that difference is much bigger because there's more complicated factors that flow into that position. Now, I will absolutely deny that. I know what you're trying to do already, right? You're setting this up for the next decade or so, because everything from this point on that Mac Jones does well, you are going to play off as, it's just the Patriots. Yes. It's Belichick. It's the Patriots because he drafted by the Patriots. If I put Bryce Petty in this position, it would be the exact same thing.
I don't know about Bryce Petty.
I'm shutting that down right this instant. We're not having that. We're not even letting that develop. So that's
I mean, Trevor Siemian in that position, maybe.
Yeah, right. That seed is not even getting planted. Mac Jones gets the credit he deserves, and he should be the offensive rookie of the year, if not the MVP. And there's still, by the way, since we're done with the picks, I got the Patriots. MVP conversation is next. Poll up on my community channel page. You can leave your vote. If the season ended today, who is your NFL MVP? As always, there are only 5 options. YouTube doesn't allow for more. I know there are a lot more candidates or potential candidates that could win MVP, I have to pick between four names to list, and I can list other because I only get 5 options. So if the guy that you pick is not listed, just vote other and tell me why. But I pick 4 random guys. Doesn't necessarily mean they're the top 4 favorites or they're my 4 favorites. I just pick the guys we generally have been talking about. So as for you, I know last week you had the exotic pick of Jonathan Taylor. Are you sticking with that, or have you changed your mind?
I am sticking with it because much like college football, there is no decided Heisman winner this season either. So people are looking other places, and I'm sure in the end it will be a quarterback for both of these awards in the end. But people are looking other places, and when I say there's not a valid there's no quarterback that has just run away with it. I think the best quarterback in the NFL is still Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's going to win because of the thing he pulled with the COVID, so they're not going to touch that with a poll. I'm sticking with Jonathan Taylor. I think if it's not Aaron Rodgers, then it has to be the best running back in the league this year, and that's Jonathan Taylor.
I'm not buying the non-quarterback thing for a single second. I've said this many times. The MVP doesn't say quarterback, but it is a quarterback award. And we have the MVP and we have the Offensive Player of the Year. They're the same award. MVPs for quarterbacks. Offensive Player of the Year is for non-quarterbacks. For the rest, or it could even be a quarterback as well, but that is the open class. MVP is not an open class. MVP is quarterback award. Even though it's not called that, that's what it has been in practice for a decade now.
Yeah.
Until that changes, and we've seen it change with the Heisman. I'll say that last year, Devontae Smith won it, not a quarterback.
Because they couldn't pick Mac Jones for some reason.
Yeah, could have given it to Mac Jones. But,
wonder why they didn't pick him.
Yeah, because I know he's pretty good, but he didn't have the rushing numbers.
Guess who came in right behind Mac Jones in the Heisman running?
Who was it? Jalen Hurts?
It's Kyle Trask.
Oh, Kyle Trask.
Yes. Yeah, they came in 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, see, that tells you a lot about the committee. They're not good at that, foreseeing how good quarterbacks actually are. But that, story of the league. I'm gonna go Justin Herbert again. I know it's been like every week seemingly. I've been going back and forth between Herbert and Josh Allen, and then Herbert and Josh Allen, and maybe Lamar Jackson, maybe Aaron Rodgers. Whenever someone has a good game, because it's so tough to pick, and there's still no clear favorite. It's insane. Now Kirk Cousins kind of had a down game. Carson Wentz lost, so maybe he's a little bit further down the line. Is Derek Carr back in the conversation? No, he's not. But some people may think that he is. So Patrick Mahomes. Hey, is there a way for Patrick Mahomes to win? Yeah, the road is there. It's certainly thinkable.
He'd have to be uber dominant. That team would have to start blowing everyone out from here on out.
He's not too far away statistically behind the top guys. I know they haven't been winning, but he has the numbers.
Oh, there's a path. There's a path for sure.
Yeah, there's a path for over a dozen guys. Mm-hmm. One of them is Mac Jones. Another one is Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna Justin Herbert. He played a good game. So that's mine again. Probably doesn't mean anything. He could end up being winning the award. He could end up being 10th, depending on how these last few games turn out. So absolutely nothing to say. But let us know, vote for your MVP favorite on our channel page, and let us know why. If you don't pick one of the list of guys, you pick other, let us know why or who you're picking. I'm expecting the trend has been the past few weeks that other has been dominant. I think, in fact, the other category has gotten the majority of the votes, over 50% of the votes, these past few weeks, which just tells you how open this race is. Because, 10 people have 10 different opinions on the MVP debate. I don't ever recall that being the case, being ever being this close. So definitely going to be a good one because we don't know exactly what happens, which makes probably watching the NFL honors a bit more fun as well. But that is as far as that goes. How about the fantasy land?
Yeah, we're getting down to it right here. The playoffs are starting in many leagues right now. And since that is happening, a lot of teams are not in the playoffs. But there is a reason you should continue to play your team and put the best lineup out there, even if you're not in the playoffs. And we'll discuss that this week on the Hurry Up Offense.
That is exactly up my alley, because that's the situation I'm in. Can you believe I started Leonard Fournette? I had Leonard Fournette last week.
And
he scored 40 points. Still lost the league. by over 20 points.
Oh, wow.
It's incredible.
I used Leonard Fournette and blew somebody out by like 70 points this week.
It's insane. How do you start him? But I also had Mike Evans, for example, for the Bucs, and it didn't pass at all, and Leonard Fournette. So, start Leonard Fournette and still somehow lose the game. So I'm officially eliminated from fantasy playoff contention for this year. But I'm going to watch that and give me a reason to still play.
Yeah.
If not for anything but for honor, I'm going to be curious to see what that is. And anyone else should also be, whether you make the playoffs or not in fantasy, should watch the hurry up offense. Some up to date news. The Wednesday night news dump just ready, served on Thursday before Thursday night football kicks off. Mm-hmm. So as a fantasy player, you want to stay on top of that, and also some game theory. And in this case, it's going to be how to be a good loser, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Relevant for the majority of players, I guess. Most players don't make the playoffs.
Exactly.
So make sure to have a look at that coming up after the scoreboard, just probably in just a few hours after this video goes live. So make sure to check that out. Let us know your predictions, everything we've discussed in this podcast in the comments. Drop us a like too, and vote for your MVP. Who you got, and who do you have winning in these games? Let us know who's your MVP. Why is it Mac Jones? And I guess also you can vote for your Heisman. If I had to pick a Heisman right now, I'd give it to Bryce Young because he plays for Alabama.
Yeah, of course you would.
Well, I mean, who you would give it to?
Oh, I'm picking Jordan Davis. He's not going to win. He's not going to win because he's not a quarterback.
You're still going with that?
Yes.
Still going with that?
Yes.
Nah.
Yes.
Not anymore, dude. Not after that Iron Bowl performance. Bryce Young has to win. That was clutch.
Yeah, that he finally got the win in 4 overtimes?
4 overtimes. It's the Iron Bowl. Anything can happen.
Of course, yeah. Anything can happen with a team that's already lost 5 games. Sure.
It's a different thing. It's like it's not the same teams. It's a completely separate game.
Yeah. Can you name the only undefeated teams in college football this year? There's only 2 of them.
Oh, is Georgia undefeated?
Yes.
I guess that's what I did here.
Yes.
Yeah, Cincinnati.
Yes, Georgia and Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And once we destroy Alabama in the SEC championship this weekend,
all right, okay,
it's gonna be Georgia and Cincinnati heading into the playoffs. Probably 1-3, I'm guessing, and Michigan will probably be number 2 if they win this weekend against Iowa.
It's gonna be Georgia. It's gonna be Bama. I want to say Ohio State, but that's actually a tough one now.
Well, if Bama wins, they're going in. I mean, that's obvious. And Georgia will still get in. Georgia's the only team that's mathematically impossible to not make the
Georgia's
playoffs.
Locked.
Yes.
Georgia is in for the record. Alabama is probably also in because they're Bama.
Mm-hmm. If they lose, they're not going to put a two-loss team in there if Alabama loses the SEC championship. And then you're going to get Oklahoma State bringing up the rear into the playoffs. And
you have
God
a lot
forbid,
of exotic picks.
Oh yeah, but what else is possible? The only bad scenario I could see here is if Oklahoma State loses and they find some way to boot Notre Dame back in there again, and then everybody's just going to be pissed off. So, committee, don't do that. Don't put Notre Dame back in there, please.
We'll have to see. It's going to be good to see Cincinnati, though. I'm assuming they're actually going to make it. So
now they got to beat Houston.
I personally,
but I think that's a done deal already.
I have to say this for myself. I know a lot of people like to see it. They really believe. I don't believe at all. I think Cincinnati's going to lose 50-5 in their game. In one game and be out. That's
but it's cool to
personally.
See, though. I mean, that they can finally get their wish. Yeah.
If they're undefeated, they should be in. If not, only for the chance to finally get to play one of those big teams. I think they'll get blown out and run over, but they should have the opportunity to play them because otherwise we'll never know. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm going to go with that. Of course, Bryce Young is going to pick apart Georgia, win the Heisman, and also the number 1 seed in the same game. But that's still to come. So
he only put 10 points up in the regular game against Auburn. What is he going to do against Georgia's defense? The number 1 defense that college football has ever seen. Like, is he? I don't think he's going to put up 10.
It feels like Tom Brady put up 10 points in like half the Super Bowls he ever plays.
Well, that's true.
So yeah, this is about the winning matters a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And in clutch situations, Aaron Paul,
We are
he did
playing
well.
Stetson Bennett, for God's sake, so you guys do have a chance.
You got a better quarterback,
Yeah,
and
that's for sure.
Bryce Young is the Heisman winner. Make sure to leave us a like. Let us know your opinions on all this stuff, and we're going to see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check the scoreboard. Ha.